Imagine this. You're sitting at your kitchen table, it's late, and you've got two browser tabs open. On one, you're looking at your bank account balance. It's finally grown to a decent size, maybe $5 or $10,000 you've scraped together. On the other tab, you're staring at that student loan portal. You know the one. That massive looming number that feels like a weight on your chest every time you wake up. You're hovering your mouse over the custom pay button, ready to dump every cent of your savings into that debt just to feel some relief. You think that by clicking that button, you're finally doing the responsible thing. But here's the thing. If you click that button, you might actually be making the single biggest financial mistake of your life. Look, I get it. We've been told since we were 5 years old that debt is a monster. We're taught that owing money is a moral failing and that being debt-free is the ultimate finish line. But that's the trap. That's the poor man's psychology that keeps people working until they're 80, while the wealthy are out there literally using debt to buy their freedom. It's a paradox, right? But the math doesn't care about your feelings. Think of your money like a small army of soldiers. Every dollar is a soldier that can either go out and fight to capture more territory, meaning more money, or it can be used to pay off a ransom. When you aggressively pay down a 4% interest student loan while the stock market is historically returning 10%, you are essentially firing your best soldiers. You're taking high-performing troops and sending them to deal with a minor nuisance while the real war for your retirement is being lost. Did you know that according to recent Federal Reserve data, the average student loan interest rate is actually lower than the average rate of inflation we've seen in recent spikes? That means, in real-world terms, your debt is actually shrinking on its own because the dollars you'll use to pay it back in 5 years are worth less than the dollars you have today. You're effectively getting a discount just by waiting. Let's look at a shocking reality that most gurus won't tell you. If you take $500 a month and put it toward a 5% student loan, you save some interest. Great. But if you take that same $500 and put it into an S&P 500 index fund, and you do that for 30 years, the difference isn't just a few $1,000s. It's often the difference between a $2 million nest egg and having zero. This is what we call opportunity cost. It's the invisible tax on being safe. It's like having a car that can go 100 miles per hour, but you refuse to take it over 20 because you're afraid of wearing out the tires. Meanwhile, everyone else is zooming past you to the destination. I know, it feels counterintuitive. You've been told neither a borrower nor a lender be. But that's advice for a world that doesn't exist anymore. We live in a world of good debt and bad debt. Bad debt is that 24% interest credit card you used for a vacation you couldn't afford. That's a house fire, you put that out immediately. But a low-interest student loan? That's more like a strategic mortgage on your brain. It's an asset-backed liability. If the interest rate on your loan is lower than what you can earn in a boring total market index fund, then paying it off early is literally handing money back to the bank as a gift. Why would you give a multi-billion-dollar bank a tip? They don't need your charity. Let's use a metaphor here. Imagine you have a bucket with a tiny pin-sized hole in the bottom. That's your student loan interest. You're so worried about the water dripping out that you're ignoring the giant hose, the stock market, that could be filling your bucket 10 times faster than the leak. You're so focused on the leak that you're staying parched. It's frustrating to watch people do this. I see people in their 20s and 30s living like monks, eating ramen and skipping out on life just so they can say they don't owe the government anything. And then, 20 years later, they realize they missed out on the greatest wealth-building window of their lives. The power of compound interest in their youth. Here's the surprising reveal. The government actually wants you to keep this debt. No, not because they're evil, but because student loans are one of the only forms of debt that are unsecured, yet come with such flexible repayment terms and tax advantages. You can deduct that interest. You can get forbearance if you lose your job. If you pay that money into the loan, it's gone forever. You can't call the loan servicer and ask for a refund because your car broke down. But if that money is in a brokerage account, it's liquid. It's your safety net. It's your FU fund. By staying in debt, you're actually more secure because you have cash on hand. So, what should you actually do? Stop the all-or-nothing mentality. Here is the actionable blueprint. First, check your rates. If your loans are under 5 or 6%, you switch to the minimum payment immediately. Take every single extra dollar you were going to dump into that loan and automate a contribution to a Roth IRA or a 401k. Don't even look at it. Let it grow. If your employer offers a match and you're paying off student loans instead of taking that match, you are literally throwing away a 100% return on your money to save 5%. It's mathematically insane. Look, I know it's hard to change how you think about money. It feels cleaner to have no debt. But being clean and being broke is a terrible combination. You need to start thinking like an investor, not a consumer. An investor asks, where will this dollar do the most work? Most of the time, the answer isn't Sally Mae, it's me. You are the best investment you have. Don't starve your future self to satisfy a psychological itch today. The math is on your side. The history of the market is on your side, and your future self will thank you for having the courage to stay in debt while becoming wealthy. Go log into that portal right now, set your payments to the minimum, and move that extra cash into your investment account. Stop paying for the past and start buying your future. You've got this. Would you like me to break down how to calculate your specific break-even interest rate for your loans versus your investment goals?